Well, let's have some fun watching them try to do journalism again, but this time with the S.A.V.E. Act. Let's go to the polls. Dude, I tried. I wanted to find video or audio of news anchors reading these poll numbers. They just don't exist. Kick it off with the Gallup poll in October 2024. 84% of respondents supported photo ID requirements overall, including 98% of Republicans, 84% of independents, 67% of Democrats. Even proof of citizenship gets high marks. 83% in favor of first-time registrations. Let's move ahead a year. A Pew Research Center survey from August 2025 found 83% of Americans want voters to show government-issued ID, photo ID, at the polls. 95% Republicans, 71 Democrats agreeing, and here's a little caveat, 82% of Hispanics. Let's move along. This past February, last month, a Harvard-Harris poll revealed 71% support for the Save America Act itself, including 69% of independents and half of Democrats. So I was trying to find coverage of, real scrutinizing journalism again, kind of the same way they did with that 7-page bill that just, kind of reiterated that little kids don't take sex ed and parents are in charge of their own kids. So here we are for this one now. We've just taken a look at the polls. I think we set it up that way on purpose. You know that. This is called Mass Polls Decry the Save America Act. Will it really disenfranchise voters? And this is from Boston.com, which is the Boston Globe. It really did sell for $1.
That stupid Boston Globe, it's worthless. Sold for $1.
Here's a subhead there, hoping that this bill will pass and will make it so hard to vote that many American citizens will just give up. Many. Massachusetts politicians offered a blistering rebuttal after the Save America Act cleared the U.S. House of Representatives Wednesday, warning that the strict voter ID bill could disenfranchise millions ahead of the midterm elections. This is from a little more than a month ago, mid-February. That reads, all the politicians, that's how it reads. The Globe is reporting that every public servant in Massachusetts is against voter integrity laws at the federal level.
I'm a little better than everyone else.
Under the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or Save America Act, U.S. voters would need to furnish proof of citizenship, such as an American passport or birth certificate, to register to vote in federal elections. The legislation would also require voters to show photo identification in order to cast a ballot, which some states already stipulate. The old click out for context. This is a ploy since many people have news articles read to them these days, like, while they're driving. In newspapers, the story continued after the jump, because people were sitting there reading a newspaper. For news websites, like the Globe's Boston.com here, they use it to hide valuable information. We've seen it before. I won't click out. It's 8 states. They have all enacted strict laws since 2020. And there are also more than a dozen others that require some form of voter ID. So the angle they've chosen for this story is designed to create the illusion that mass amounts of citizens don't want these laws. We saw the polls. Do you think the Globe didn't?
Nope.
It's the opposite. They saw the numbers and got right to work on this smokescreen. And with some of the shittier rags we go through on this podcast, I'll get a little more triggered. Might be doing a little too much harping between these paragraphs, but I'll try to make it quick. And the Globe is right up there with some of the worst offenders of activism disguised as journalism. While Republican lawmakers say the bill is necessary to prevent voter fraud and maintain election integrity, many Democrats and public policy organizations caution that the ID requirements amount to voter suppression tactics that would undermine critical 2026 elections. We'll get into that in a bit. Public policy people. You know what those are? Unelected bureaucrats. The same types who added 10,000 pages of tax code over the last 50 years. Look it up. You think politicians suck because of their sense of accomplishments they never made? Wait till you see a bureaucrat really wipe their ass with your money. These are all the snidely, manipulative cunts who have the ears of all these retard politicians. So why is it important to Boston readers to know that these people, along with the brain-dead politicians, are against the will of the American people?
Fucking thing sucks!
Republicans know their ideas are unpopular. They see the writing on the wall this November, U.S. Rep. Jim McGovern recently warned, rep from Mass. And instead of trying to win fair and square, they want to cheat. They're hoping that this bill will pass and will make it so hard to vote that many American citizens will just give up. That's what the S.A.V.E. Act do. So after that brief monosyllabic paraphrased mention of the central argument, they go on to a full quote of a Mass rep who was only famous for derailing legislative work during 2024 in order to disrupt the Trump campaign. There's a very speculative quote that gives the Republican thought process, something that this McGovern guy knows nothing about, and he's being quoted about it in a news story. Unless you have an agenda to push, like Boston.com. Also, a statement like this requires more questions and pushback from the reporter. Something this reporter didn't do, I guess. So what does the S.A.V.E. Act mean for voters? Here's what to know. This here is another manipulation attempt to make you believe whatever nonsense they're about to spout here is legit and also gospel. And we're gonna fight back.
You got a fucking problem, bro?
The context. The S.A.V.E. Act comes as President Donald Trump calls on Republicans to nationalize voting in the U.S., Trump's latest attempt to overhaul federal elections in what critics have called a breach of the separation of powers. Yes, the context. I love this Activision bullshit line they've added to news stories. For context, here's how we believe you should think about this. There's your link out for contextual bullshit. Trump in escalation calls for Republicans to nationalize elections. My fault. I'm pretty dumb. Is the S.A.V.E. Act to enact voter ID laws like we do in every part of everyday life? Are they saying the S.A.V.E. Act would take away federal vote ratification from Congress? Because that would be an actual breach of checks and balances. As part of the same push, the Trump administration recently sought ballots in Georgia from the 2020 presidential election Trump claimed was rigged, quote. After he lost to former President Joe Biden, the U.S. Department of Justice also sued Massachusetts and 3 other states late last year for their voter registration data. I believe the Justice Department said it found tens of thousands of illegal votes in that Georgia state probe.
You are fake news.
Most of us would know because the press covered it as claims and never got into the specifics of the affidavits, instead of readily available public information, which it is, so, okay. We're about to see something new in fake journalism. I'm not sure what to call it. Phantom something. Phantom angle? Phantom line?
Thank you, Senator.
Anyway, here, this upcoming paragraph, we call this burying the lead. If the Globe wants to be a credible news outlet, they would have presented this as the actual story angle, not just fit it down into paragraph 8. Here we go. But how popular is the push for voter ID? A 2025 Pew Research Center poll found 83% of respondents, so they're given the stats we gave earlier in all those full screen graphics. Here's what makes it phantom. The reporter just wrote that 8 in 10 Americans, regardless of affiliation, want voter ID laws. So if you look between no quotes in favor of the bill, plus that speculative inference they call a quote from McGovern, does this seem like Boston.com is even reading what it just wrote? This newspaper, now website, purports to serve a community. Which community? Take Massachusetts and its 6 million plus legal residents. So mathematically, if we applied these polls to this one state, 83%, nearly 5 million people in the Commonwealth want voter ID laws. So I guess this article isn't for them. The S.A.V.E. Act is a renewed version of a bill that passed through the House in 2025, only to stall in the Senate. And with midterm elections nearing and lawmakers jockeying for control of Congress, the timing of this legislation couldn't be more pivotal. That last part is speculation, not reporting. Also, it's an easy thing to point out. If the media is in favor of a law, then the bill passed the House. Again, meant to instill a common agreement. Passed through the House insinuates that the children at this outlet actually know how a bill becomes a law. Remember, don't miss the little things. Who will save? Federal law already includes citizenship as a condition to vote, and instances of non-citizens voting fraudulently are extremely rare. Further, a voter who lies about their citizenship when registering to vote in federal or state elections faces criminal prosecution. In Massachusetts, for example, would-be voters have to swear they're a citizen under oath, and illegal voter registration is punishable by a maximum fine of $10,000 and up to 5 years in prison. Illegal voting by non-citizens can also carry with it serious immigration consequences, including immediate deportation. It took until paragraphs 10 and 11 not to have to react to it, but I guess what I'm saying now negates it. According to the Bipartisan Policy Center, oh yeah, there are easier, more cost-effective ways to improve citizenship verification. Keep that in mind, easier, more cost-effective citizenship verification ways that don't create new barriers for eligible voters. The Washington, D.C. think tank suggests a back-end verification model that puts an onus on the government rather than voters to verify citizenship status using existing databases. All right, let's look at these 5 easier, more cost-effective ways, shall we? Shall we? We shall. This is the Bipartisan Policy Center. 5 things to know about the Save America Act by Ren, Matt, Julianne. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility's Save America Act requires voters to provide documentary proof of citizenship at the time of registration and a photo ID at the time of voting. The Save America Act was passed by the U.S. House of Representatives in February of 2026. All right, we already know all about that. Let's go down to the 1, 2, 3, 4. These 5 things that are going to, quote, easier and more cost-effective. So number 1, citizenship is already a requirement to vote. And instances of non-citizenship voting are rare. This isn't even a new thing. It just states that we all have SS cards and birth certificates. I think an adult who fancies themselves smart enough to decide what to do with my money should be able to hold on to at least one of those, no? And we'll explore the rarities in a moment. Many eligible citizens don't have access to documentary proof of citizenship. So what's many? More than half? Less than half? What is many? There are 174 million registered voters in this country. Yes, that's fewer than how many votes were counted last election, but shh, hush now. There are apparently 5.1 million registered voters in Massachusetts. So again, what is many? 35%? 25%? That's 1 in 4? Taking a look, scrolling down now. 9% of eligible voters do not have or do not have easy access to documentary proof of citizenship. 52% don't have an unexpired passport, and 11% do not have access to their birth certificate. So 9% fewer than 1 in 10 voters. Now, if you think about loss of health care coverage after working for it, yeah, that sucks. We talked about 5 million, possibly 2.6 million in the last segment. 17 million voters, about 1 in 10. That's a lot of people, a lot of major cities. But they're being told to get a free ID card, and they say they physically can't. They don't possibly have decades of investment taken away. Maybe apples to oranges. And the 52% registered voters, yeah, 50% of people don't have passports. No shit. Probably because people can't afford to take foreign vacations because they pay so many taxes. Back to the top. So the first 2 easier and more cost-effective ways seem terrible and aren't really examples of easier and more cost-effective ways. See number 3. There are better ways to verify citizenship that put the responsibility on government, not voters. What comes to mind when you hear the terms easier and more cost-effective? Why would it be the government, of course? Jesus Christ, these people are fucking... Number 1, front-end verification. Number 2, back-end verification. There's 2 parts to it. So, maybe it's perfect exemplification of government. We already had to break it down into 2. So front-end, where the burden is on the voter to prove their citizenship by providing documentary proof. So we want back-end, where the election or other government officials, such as those at the Department of Motor Vehicles, consult existing government data to verify a voter's citizenship status. So I got to cross-reference more things on computers and technology on public databases. You know how many countries with millions of voters count their election votes overnight? That's unheard of here. Now, each vote has to go through the government. Each vote, the people vying for the votes. So 1 by 1 times the 400 million votes that came in from the 175 million living and dead registered voters last election. Do you know what happened when I asked AI to answer that question? It couldn't. Because of how fucked up the system has become. It couldn't name how many registered voters there are. Stupid children. Number 4, the SAVE Act could have unintended consequences for election officials and election administration. Whoa, whoa, whoa. These are supposed to be easier, more cost-effective ways. That's what the last article from Boston.com said, and that's what this thing starts with. We haven't seen one yet. And all of a sudden they pivoted to attacking the S.A.V.E Act. Which is it? For voters who register by mail, the S.A.V.E America Act requires documentary proof of citizenship to be delivered in person to an election office, effectively nullifying the benefits of mail registrations. You have to deliver the mail. This is for voting in federal elections, is it not? So I believe folks should be able to vote by mail for sure. And I believe that said folks will be able to get downtown or at a local clerk at least once in a 1.5 to 3.5 year time period. I bet a lot of communities still make you travel to town and city offices to pay property taxes and water bills. You shitting me? I have a feeling you're going to be needed downtown in the next 1.5 to 3.5 years if you only do presidential elections. So we went 0 for 3, now we're 0 for 4 with this bipartisan bullshit, and here comes the pitch. The S.A.V.E America Act needs more time and resources to be implemented well. Wait a minute, we got a little squibbler down the third baseline. Gonna be a close play here. Scroll down. I think we actually have an example. Safe! Oh, what a close play. Tie goes to the runner. The S.A.V.E America Act needs more time and resources to be implemented well. So the S.A.V.E Act requires significant changes to each step of the voter registration process. How voters register, how their identities are verified, and how list maintenance is performed on an ongoing basis. So more government. I can see that argument against it. Okay, I'm with you so far. But wait, we got a challenge here. Umps are reviewing the call. These changes could be costly and time-consuming, taking months, if not years, to achieve. Despite the administrative difficulty of implementation, the S.A.V.E America Act prioritizes speed over precision. The act becomes effective on the date of enactment, giving states no time to adjust processes. It also requires that the U.S. Election Assistance Commission offer implementation guidance to states within just 10 days of enactment. Further, the S.A.V.E America Act offers no funding to states or assists to implementation costs. Again, we've been talking about this, though, since 2024 we saw those polls, so it's been 2 years. I think bureaucrats would be kind of setting up and getting ready for it or something like that. When we saw in the tariffs episode, what did businesses do to prep? That was the campaign. We have a challenge here. For the basic account, we were supposed to be listing easier and more cost-effective ways. This is just bashing the S.A.V.E Act again. No strong points, not the purpose of the game. The crew chief is coming to the plate. And the call is reversed out. 0 for 5. Thanks for playing bipartisan policy group. What the fuck was that? Go back to Boston.com. Thanks for wasting our time with this garbage. What credit is left in this story? Do we even finish? Yeah. Stumping against the will of the American people we saw from the polls. This is your major market media right here.